Ihoa, good night. Colossal, sleep well. Bonsoir. Dormez bien. My name is Dr. Francis Scully, and I will next week be making some videos to talk about why I wish to start calling my Substack blog Conviviality and Craic, and also uh, calling my mighty network Conviviality and Craic. And I'm hoping to be able to find people to collaborate with on the Mighty Network and interest people in these ideas. Now it's very late, and I had wanted to do this earlier and was busy, so I thought I would at least start. Now, I believe that this is a difficult time, and it's a very difficult time for a lot of really wonderful Americans. And my heart goes out to uh, people I know and people I really admire and look up to in the United States of America. And I know you're really suffering at this time, and we are all really suffering with what has happened. And I'm no expert. I'm a very ordinary Irish Canadian, and my professional training is as a medical doctor, pediatrician, hematologist, a pediatric hematologist, oncologist, a clinical hematologist, a researcher, advocate, teacher, mentor, uh, and I was fortunate to be invited to become a founding member of the Association of Haemophiliac Clinic Directors of Canada in 1992, and I was a member until January 2016. And I was also invited to be a founding member of what was called Thrombosis Interest Group Canada and became Thrombosis Canada. And from 1992 to 2016. And if my life had continued on the trajectory I hoped it was going to continue on, this month I would be planning to attend the International Society of Thrombosis and Hemostasis meeting, which is planned to be held in Washington this June. And some great friends of mine are organizing this. And I really, really, really want the International Society of Thrombosis and Hemostasis meeting in Washington to go very well for everybody. So I am Irish Canadian. I have never studied or lived in the States. I have traveled to the States probably on average once or twice a year, most years from when I came to Canada, starting maybe in 1980. I came in 1985, starting maybe in 1986, up until 2016. And even after that, I traveled to the States to attend meetings, and I attended small meetings, large meetings in all over the States. My first meeting was an American Society of Hematology meeting held in New Orleans, and I thought New Orleans was so beautiful. It was early December. It was the first time I'd seen the sort of different decorations in a country that's warmer at Christmas time, and I was so taken with everything there, and the wonderful music in New Orleans, and the culture, and the food, and everything. It's a wonderful place. But I also realized there is, of course, as there is everywhere, a very, very, very cruel, unjust, brutal other side to the history of the United States of America, and to the history of Canada, and to the history of Ireland, and pretty well everywhere we look on our planet. Awful things have happened. And it's very painful because I associate the United States of America with great science and great medical science and great climate scientists and uh, just great, great people, and people who are very, very, very talented, bright, fantastic communicators, great speakers, and writers. Oh my heavens. So a lot of the people I admire most are American, and I know people are suffering at this time. So I really want you to know that I, Dr. Frances Scully, just an ordinary Irish Canadian living in Logie Bay, really, really, really cares about the US and it's different people and all the people who live there, whatever their status, and I really care about the beautiful land. I love and I'm trying to study all I can about the Native American tribes and their traditions. I especially love Professor Robin Wall Kimmerer. I was just reading one of her little books yesterday. It's so beautiful. I also love the leader Pat McCabe, who's a Dene leader, and I love her teachings. And I love learning all about the Haudenosaunee and other tribes and nations and how they lived and their ideas. It's beautiful. And I love all sorts of other Americans, like music, Bruce Springsteen. And I'm just blanking on his name now. I've discovered this incredible musician from New Orleans, and I'm blanking on his name. I'll think of it and have to say it another time. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful singer, dancer, and like so many Americans, just such a creative, positive person. And I'm blanking on his name. Sorry, it's late now and so on. But there's, so much good in America now. And the reason I am on Substack and I discovered Substack was in June of 2022. I was distraught with what was happening with the Supreme Court, SCOTUS in the US, and the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And as an Irish Roman Catholic, of course, I was brought up to see abortion as being a mortal sin, a terrible, terrible, terrible sin. And I went through medical school thinking like this because I wasn't taught anything really about how vital therapeutic abortion is for the health and well-being of young girls and women, and how it saves their lives and allows them to become mothers in the future, and how forcing girls and women to carry a baby to term who is already perhaps dead in utero or has all sorts of things have happened, like what is happening now with the making therapeutic abortion illegal in the States is ruining, causing terrible suffering and killing uh, young women. It's horrific, and I had not understood all this. As a Roman Catholic, even though I was a physician, I had not really worked in that field, and I hadn't looked at all the data and so on. And now that I have, I'm very ashamed that I hadn't done more uh, to support all the people who were always fighting for therapeutic abortion. I apologize. I really hadn't realized what an awful thing how vital uh, women's autonomy is, and I'm sorry, but I just didn't know enough. Anyway, I was ignorant, and so in 2022, while I was trying to learn about all this, I came across the work of Professor Heather Cox Richardson, and I signed up for her Letters from an American, and I am in awe of this wonderful professor, this wonderful patriot. She's incredible. She's a professor of history who specializes in economics and politics and participatory democracy. And she's a true patriot. And she is great at summarizing very complex issues, documenting things accurately, counteracting disinformation and misinformation. And she also writes. I don't know. I don't think the woman ever sleeps. She's always on the go. But anyway, she's a wonderful, and that is how I discovered Substack. And I've been trying to tell all my friends here in Newfoundland and Labrador, in Ireland, in England, in Canada, and anybody else I can speak to that they, if you're trying to understand America and its politics in a positive way, to check out the work of Professor Heather Cox Richardson. And as she points out, nothing is perfect. We are not meant to be perfect, but boy, we can do better than we're doing at the moment. And so, but I'm on Substack because of Heather Cox Richardson. And then subsequently, I discovered that the incredible Margaret Atwood, the iconic Canadian writer, speaker, brilliant woman. She's here writing away, and she writes so well, and she's so witty and such an inspiration. And I also discovered that Bill McKibben, who is an American writer, environmentalist, and I've read at least two, if not more, of his wonderful books, and he's writing here on Substack. And then I found a whole bunch of other Americans and Canadians who are writing here, and I must speak about these wonderful people. Oh yes, the one I love is Charlie Angus, who is writing. I think he's calling it The Resistance, and well done you, Charlie. I love it. And also a number of excellent US Congress people and senators. I'm still trying to learn the whole system, are on here actually sharing good, accurate information about what is happening, and why what is happening is wrong, how corrupt and cruel Felon Trump and his administration is, and all the damage they're doing. And in addition to these great people who are writing here, and I will speak to them more in depth later, there's the wonderful Carol Caldwelder, who's an incredible English, British, Welsh, British journalist, writer, speaker, very brave woman, who gave a TED talk and pointed out some of the dangers of what she calls the broligarchy. And I'll speak more. Well, I would recommend anybody to look at some of her TED talks or her writings here. Carol Caldwelder, she's incredible, brave and brilliant, insightful woman. And then most recently, I've come across Porrick Otuma, who is somebody I have followed for years. He's a brilliant Irish peace activist, poet. Incredible. And he's writing on Substack. And Micheál O'Sullivan, who's another incredible Irish musician, philosopher, poet, who with his brother Owen O'Sullivan and their mother Nori Mirian organized Trus an Thanam, which means Journey of the Soul. So he's here too. So this is a wonderful place, and I haven't even begun to mention all the wonderful Canadian people who I follow here and whose work I love. Anyway, so I'll get to that during the week. But the reason I'm using the word conviviality is that Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher explained neoliberalism as saying that we humans are all born individual, selfish, and rational. And we're by nature selfish and individuals. And that therefore the best way forward is to have no and that privatization, everything to do with government and governance, is inefficient. And the best way forward is to privatize everything and to have totally unfettered free market economics. And none of this is true. It's not factually true about who we are as human beings, how economics work, and so on. And I had not, until 2021, when I took a course with the incredible polymath Jeremy Lent, I had not understood that Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was the first female member invited to be a member of the Mont Pelerin Society, and that this society still exists and it's by invitation only, and that it was co-founded by Friedrich Hayek with his brother-in-law Milton Friedman. And Friedrich Hayek wrote a book that has had way too much influence called The Road to Serfdom, which was published in 1934. And last year, Professor Joseph Stiglitz, and I have to check and see if he's on here, hopefully he is, he wrote The Antidote. He wrote a book called The Road to Freedom, and how to make economics work for the good of society, which is what we so much need. So there are all sorts of great people doing great work here. I want to encourage all the Americans who are so heartbroken about what's happening in your beautiful country, the attacks on science, on doctors, on everybody, on civil rights, on poor people. It's just horrific. It's just awful. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Since I had radiation, I don't have much saliva and radiation therapy for my breast cancer. So I have to remember to drink, or otherwise I run out of, I can't speak. Sorry about that. Anyway, so to all the Americans who are upset about the state of your country, please know that your country is wonderful. And I know that terrible damage has been done by felon Trump, by his goons, and particularly by this Doge awful stuff. And I am so sorry for all the great, great scientists and civil servants who dedicated their lives to their country and whose lives are turned upside down. They've been fired for no reason, chaos. And I'm really sorry to the vets, and I'm really sorry to the children who are getting lunches and things, and that's been cut away. And to Medicaid, to people who are receiving their care, their lives are endangered. And I'm so sorry about what's happened to NASA and all the scientists and all the staff who worked to deal with big disasters. Now we're having these terrible, terrible wildfires in Manitoba that are so dangerous for people locally and right across North America because the toxic fumes. So there's a lot of things going on that are of grave concern, and I'm really sorry. But I do want to encourage the resistance, and also to encourage you to be very careful. Do not put yourself in any danger, and make sure and all the protests are non-violent, because that felon Trump is just itching to shoot people. I'm sorry, but that's what he's itching to do, and I would hate to see good Americans mowed down because they are exercising their rights to protest against corruption and cruelty and lawlessness, terrible lawlessness. So I really, 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 really want to say to all the American resistance, people in Canada, well, I certainly support you. I have no official capacities, but I certainly support and really, really am concerned and so on. And right across Canada, I'm concerned that we have our own people who are MAGAs and Trump supporters and who believe all this terrible right-wing conspiracy stuff. and who think the answer to everything is more pipelines and more oil and gas, and obviously are not understanding how much this contributes to these terrible wildfires and all the damage this does to our economy, and how we have to rethink the whole thing. And I so wish everybody who comes forward in governance in Canada, all the at a municipal, provincial, and federal level, I wish everybody well. And then, my heart goes out to the suffering people in Gaza, and to the people on every sides of this very complex, fast moving disaster, who are seriously working for peace and an end to hostilities and so on. And the same thing for Ukraine and Russia and everywhere in Africa, everywhere. There's chaos. India and Pakistan, there is a need for calm. So conviviality is the desire to meet, to be friendly, to be hospitable, and to get along with other people. And I hope it's the antidote to neoliberalism. And craic is an Irish word, Craic, nothing to do with cocaine. Craic is an Irish word for having fun with other people, enjoying other people. And sometimes alcohol is involved, but it doesn't have to be. Craic is all about, teasing people, having fun, slagging people, but never in a way that is cruel or exclusive or divisive. It's all about bringing people together and the joy of interacting with other people in a way that is well intentioned, and that, yeah, and how, most of us are people of goodwill, and we want other people to be happy and well and not to be suffering. So anyway, so that's what Conviviality and Craic is about. And it's now very late because I was trying to do this and made some mistakes. Anyway, sorry, and I hope to do this again tomorrow. So ihawa, kalasov, good night, sleep tight, be well.